How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Sandra Lindsay, the very first person to receive the virus vaccine in the US of A. Now, I feel like they hit pretty much every mark on this person getting the vaccine shot. It's done intentionally, in my humble opinion. I'll talk about that specifically a little bit later. But let's just run through it. First of all, you have a frontline healthcare worker. That makes sense because they've already been identified as those that are going to get it first to begin with. If you are a nurse, a doctor, or working in the service industry, fast food, any kind of front facing job like that, you're going to be the first in line to get it. So, that's to be expected. But beyond that, you have a woman, a black woman, you have another black woman giving her the shot, and then you got Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, right there, right alongside her, virtually, of course, not in the same room, cheering her on, congratulating her, you're doing a good job, all this, that, and the third. All of that is political theater. It's to restore confidence. It's all a game, in my humble opinion. Now, before I go any further and really go down the rabbit hole and bring you with me, let's go ahead and roll this clip. In this clip, you'll see Miss Lindsay talking about the virus vaccine, how she feels, and a few more things. After we get done watching that, I'll talk about what she said there over on MS13 DNC. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
There is still this aspect of the virus that is hitting harder in communities of color, in indigenous, brown, and particularly in black communities. And I just want to show you, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, there's a poll that's out that talked about the fact that, African Americans, that black folks are much more skeptical of the vaccine. And so when I saw Nicole Hannah-Jones of the 1619 Project tweet out, a black woman getting this first from a black nurse, this was so important. What message do you have to people in the black community who are scared to get the vaccine, who feel they don't trust the system, they don't trust the science, they don't trust the history of black people's relationships with the medical world and the medical research world?
So I will say to them that I understand that based on the history, they have mistrust in the medical system. As a nurse, my practice is guided by the science. I believe in science. What you should not trust is COVID-19 because you don't know how it will affect you. So I would say to you that I hope that me taking the vaccine today is an inspiration to you and that you should trust the science.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, there's so much to get through here. I'm not even really sure where to begin. Straight from the top. Okay, you got a black woman, you got an immigrant. It's like you got everything. You got black woman, immigrant, healthcare worker, frontline, New York, where the virus is really bad. You got everything right there. And the main thing here is the race part. Okay, two black women, there's no mistaking that for an intentional optic thing. All right, they probably sought a black person out to not only get the vaccine, but also give the vaccine, because they know, when I say they, I mean those that the powers that be, people that want us to take the virus, they know that the black community are very suspicious of any kind of virus vaccines, any kind of shots, any kind of treatment, any kind of, new thing the government's rolling out or big pharma or whoever are rolling out. We are very suspicious, and rightfully so. Okay, I'm gonna talk about Tuskegee right quick because that's been mentioned a lot, but a lot of us don't even really know what that was in full detail. We know that it was something that the government did to us that wasn't good, but we don't know the full extent. Now, I think back in the 30s, there was an experiment done, or how can I say, there was a trial, quote unquote, a trial drug, a trial treatment for syphilis offered in Alabama, or it was to right around 600 or so impoverished male sharecroppers from Alabama. Now, the experiment happened at Tuskegee Institute or University. This is a black college. So this whole thing about, I'm a black woman. Oh, before I go down the whole road about Tuskegee, Miss Lindsay said, hopefully I inspire black people by taking the vaccine. I'm black, you black. Hopefully I inspire you. Well, if you go back in history, it was a black college and black people that helped one of the most egregious experiments on black people in history. Egregious experiment. But let's get back to it. So you're in the 30s, 600 impoverished sharecroppers, and there was an experiment done. The government promised them that they would get free health care if they were to sign up for what we got going on. And they said it'd be, a 6-month thing, that they'd be treated for syphilis and all this and that. Okay, that's what they were told. But 6 months became 40 years. And rather than treating these men for syphilis, rather than helping them with their actual disease, they were intentionally not given anything for it aside from placebos, diagnostics. They weren't treated for syphilis. They were allowed to die, to suffer with it. And the whole point of the experiment, which was going to be 6 months, became 40 years. The whole point of the experiment was to see what happens to the human body when syphilis goes untreated. All right. Now, penicillin became the standard treatment back in like 1945 or so for syphilis. So they could have got the penicillin and they would have been good to go. But the government never gave the penicillin to them. They were acting like they were treating syphilis, but they weren't. They were experimenting with them. And that's similar to what's going on here, in my humble opinion, because, okay, the virus just popped when? Like in March. It's been around for a while beyond that. I say probably November or December of 2019 in the US. But the virus first popped in March as far as the shutdowns and lockdowns, all this, that, and the third. So it's not even been the full 12 months and we already have a vaccine. Now, did they go through animal trials? I don't think they did. So are you going to be the trial for the virus? The craziest part of what I saw with, her and Cuomo, another black woman, she's talking about, oh, I feel good. It's like the thing about these vaccines and any kind of shot, any kind of treatment, any kind of experimental drug, it may not hurt you right away. There may be a delayed reaction, just like with asbestos. That was considered to be one of the best things since pants with pockets. It was marketed everywhere. It was in children's clothing. It was in your house. It was in ships. It was everywhere. And asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral in nature. You can go out there and find it right now, depending upon where you look. But when you have it in the form that it's used to, insulate homes and ships and whatnot, it becomes dangerous. And when you breathing it in, it can cause mesothelioma. If you ever seen these commercials on television, mesothelioma, class action lawsuit, that comes from asbestos exposure. And how many people were exposed to asbestos when they thought it was safe, when they thought it was harmless? This went on for years that they thought it was harmless. It wasn't until 20, 30 years later that it was exposed to not be harmless, to be toxic, to be dangerous, the latent effects, okay? There was also a drug that helped with morning sickness back in the day, I think like 40, 50 years ago. And a lot of the kids that were born to mothers that had been taking their drug were missing limbs, just straight not having any kind of limbs at all, okay? They're walking around with no arm, no leg or whatever because of that drug. Then there's also a bunch of other drugs you'll see. If you're up late at night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, it'd be some random obscure pill that was available for 6 months that it may have passed all FDA tests, gone through rigorous testing, but injured quite a few people. And then they got a class action lawsuit. Okay, all kind of pills, all kind of drugs, all kind of treatments, all kind of shots. And what usually happens is a lot of black folks get targeted because they know we don't trust it. And then when we get injured, all of a sudden, it's not really, it kind of like, sweep it under the rug. Like a lot of these birth control shots, a lot of these other kind of shots and things that injure us, it's not even really, you pretty much just ignore that and say, believe the science. What science? An experimental drug? I've heard, allegedly, can't say for sure, that this drug here, you got to sign a waiver. I don't know if that's true or false. And if I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments. But they're trying to like not have you be able to sue Pfizer because it's experimental. You are the guinea pig. And then it might try to track you and your movements after you take the vaccine. because they want to see how it works and what's going on and what the side effects are. Because they can say that there's no side effects. They can say that they've done trials and whatnot, but you really don't know what the side effects are until years later. This is why a lot of times any kind of vaccine, any kind of drug, it takes years to develop and sometimes even longer to approve, because you got to be able to go through a lot of different testing and to make sure it's safe. And then sometimes, even with safe drugs, there's going to be externalities or small chances of failure, small chances of somebody being injured from the drug. So to have a black person out there is to try and just, trick not only black people into taking the vaccine when we're kind of skeptical, and rightfully so. It's also to trick others into taking it. It's this whole thing about appealing to your feels. Okay, you got the black woman out here. She's so brave. She's so courageous. I got to be brave and courageous too. I'm going to take the virus vaccine too. That's kind of how it goes. And I'm good. I'm not going to, I think I'll pass. I'll pass. Now, if you want to take it, then go for it, knock yourself out. But I'm just saying, there's going to be risk involved. Don't just say that it's okay and believe the science. What science says that an experimental thing, a new thing, will have zero side effects, will have zero latent impact on your body, that won't affect you in the future. What's going on right now is one thing, but what about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? What would some of the side effects be? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think the virus vaccine is 100% safe and we should trust the science? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or it's kind of up in the air. We really don't know yet. It's still early. You're talking about a virus that's been around for just a few months. I don't know. If it's me and they ask me, hey, do you want to take it? I'm good. I'll go ahead and pass. If you want to take it, then that's your business. But I'm just laying out to you what's going on, some of the history, and how they're trying to convince us that it's a good thing. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.